do to be more successful. At the same time, what is it that we are doing? So I know it's not easy being a developer. I used to be one myself, and I've seen the other side of it. Okay, but when it comes to building a successful game business on Play, how many of you are Android developers? Anyone developing for Play, Android? Everyone knows about Google Play? Great. So for those who don't know, Google Play is the biggest smartphone platform. We have over 1.4 million active users. It's growing very fast, but that's pretty much about it. So if you build on Android and if you build for Google Play, you can distribute your games anywhere in the world on more than 130 countries. You can sell your games. So if you are a local developer, games for local audience. It doesn't matter if you're in Philippines or anywhere, you can create games for global audience. Okay. So how to be a successful developer on Google Play? Very simple. Just make a good game and optimize your business. That's all it takes. I know it's more complicated than that, but let me be more specific here. So when I say build a good game, I know you're all great developers, you all build great games, but the only thing which eventually matters is what do the users think of it. The only criteria for a good game or a bad game and what differentiates is for the users is the user ratings, because when the users go to the Play Store, they download a game, they want to see how it is rated or what the other users are saying about it. And if the game is rated less than 3, you know it's time to cut your losses and create something different. If the game is more than 4, it means that the users think that you have a good game. And by those users, they don't always have to be your family or your parents or your brothers or your friends or someone, can you please rate me 5 stars? That is good too, that helps. But eventually, it's the users who you probably do not know about, someone who might might have found the game on Play and is playing it. So you need to think about how the users think about your games and how they are rating it. Now I'll talk about some of the stuff. I think it's more relevant for Play, but irrespective of whatever platform you are developing on, if you are a game developer, then what are some of the things that you can do to optimize your game's business? Slightly data heavy, but I'll try and, it's not very complicated. I'm sure you all like it, but no matter what you are doing, whether you are making a game or an app, the math is always going to be the same, which is how much money you are spending and how much you are making. If you are making more than you are spending, you have a business. If you are making less than you are spending, you have an investor. So either case, good for you, but eventually, if you are making a game, it's difficult to make money. The advantages are plenty, that you can have your games priced in different models, you can have a free-to-play game, monetize with advertising. Or you can have a freemium game, or a premium game, or a paid-mium game, or free to start, or whatever model you want to. And even in-app purchases, there are a lot of options. That being said, having options doesn't mean that the users are going to use them. Chances are very few users are going to pay. The only thing that matters is your cost per acquisition should be less than your lifetime value. And when you think about the cost of user, it can include the cost from paid marketing or any CPI campaigns that you run on any of the ad networks, but eventually it's also your time. It's also the salary of the employees that you pay. It's your opportunity cost. If you were not developing a game, if you could be doing something else, then whatever money you would have made that you're not making now, that's also your cost. So you need to make sure that you make more money than you are spending. So I understand that not every developer has launched the game, not every developer probably has these numbers on the tips. But if you can take away one thing, retention is the single most important metric that you can think of. And to just simplify it, retention is how many users come back to a game after they install the game. Typically, this is the biggest difference between a game which is top 10 game and top 5,000 games. So if you see, I can't read it very well, and I don't think you can either. But the blue line is for top 10, and this is games and that is apps. So typically, apps have higher retention than the games. But at the same time, the trend is not really different. So a top 10 game will have much better 90-day retention than a top 5,000 game. So if you're making a game, you're getting good reviews, make sure that you try and optimize for retention. If you are getting users to come back again and again, you have something that you can actually build from. So how to drive retention? Very difficult, but eventually the single driver of retention is the frequency. If you can get the users to come back to the game, no matter how, I mean, of course it does, but you can think of things like notifications, or you can think of things like daily rewards, or maybe give them some rewards for inviting other users, but whatever you can do, if in the initial stages after installing the game, you can get users to come back, that is what is going to drive retention more than anything else. All successful game developers, every single one of them optimizes for retention for months before they launch the game. So while it's easy to say that, hey, there is this Clash of Clans or Clash Royale or Candy Crush Saga which is doing so well because, I mean, of course it's a good game, but they are spending a lot of money on user acquisition. They have a lot of people who are building new features or new products around it. Eventually, if the game is not retaining well, it's not going to be successful. Every single analytics tool that you can get will have some form of retention. So if you're using Google Analytics, Firebase, AppsFlyer, whatever you want to use, you'll get good retention data. First thing, please do look at it. And if you see that your first day retention, which is how many users actually come back after they install the game, if it is less than 10%, it means 90% of the users are not coming back. It means you need to do something about it, or you need to do something else, which is make a new game. Focus on the engagement cliff. And what I mean by that is that the first few days after the users install the game, they are going to be the most critical compared to any other time. If you can get the users to come back and play the game for 7 days, chances are that they are going to stick around. Which is why it's very important to optimize the first time experience. Let me play this video.
Players coming in, we hit them with story right away, and we try and do it in a way where it's a little more natural. We are cognizant that a lot of people playing games on mobile phones may not want to read too much text, so we try to ease players into that. But by the time they finish our tutorial, we're hoping that they're already caught up in the lives of these characters and they want to learn more about their backstories and what's going on.
I think it is important to give people kind of that sense of progression in a game, especially in mobile games, because I think with a lot of games that you can reach a certain point where you're just repeating the same actions and you want to feel like you're doing something different. I think story is a great way of differentiating that and saying, oh, now you're dealing with a new villain, or now you're dealing with a new issue that's come up.
So here is an example of a developer who actually is using tutorial to optimize for engagement.
Players coming in.
So when you get the users to start playing your game, make sure that when they are starting out, do not, if you have a very fun feature, do not wait for the users to get to level 5 before you show that feature. Make sure that they get to interact with it as soon as possible. Anything that is fun, front-loaded. If you have paywalls within the game, make sure that they do not appear before the user has gotten a chance to engage with the most fun part of the game. So if you have advertising, great for you, but in the first few sessions, try and avoid any kind of hindrance to the user experience for the games. There are many developers who are actually doing great work on how to optimize for that. I know as a developer, it's not really the most fun part, but it's something which is the difference between having a successful games business and just having a good game. So PlayDots does a lot of work around optimizing the initial stages, the lapse rate, seeing how many users are dropping at different level, adjusting the difficulties. If you can, great for you. If you can't, just think of how you can give users the greatest experience in the first few sessions. Because if they don't come back after the first few sessions, it doesn't matter what experience they get. So create features which offer value in the first few sessions. Make sure that you get the users engaged before they start to drop off. And if you have used the Google Play Developer Console, you can see all this data in the Dev Console. You can see how many users have gone through level 1, level 2, level 3. As an experiment, if you have a game on Google Play and if you are using Play Game Services, check out this funnel. You'll be surprised. A lot of developers that I work with, many times they're more interested in creating 100 levels for the game. They have a game ready, but they feel that, oh, I need just 2 more months to add 25 more episodes and 100 more levels. When they look at the data, most of the users never go beyond first 5 levels. So everything else that they're doing is adding to more cost, is reducing the retention, and is not effective at all. So it's not a medical term. So every game has a multiple personality disorder. And what I mean by that is, even though you have a single game, everyone who plays the game will interact with it differently. So most of the users are on the left side, which means they'll play the game for a long time, but they will never pay. And then as you go towards the right, there are certain percentage of users who maybe pay once or twice. There are certain percentage of users who will probably pay once or twice high amounts. But then there are some users, a few percent users, or maybe less than a percent, who will play smaller amounts, but they'll play the game for much longer time. And these are the whales for your game. So even though you have one game, users interact very differently. And you want to create different experiences for these users. So Space Ape is one example where what they do is that every user who starts playing the game, they track the user behavior for first 7 days and then segment the users into different categories. So for the users who are making very frequent purchases, small purchases, they know that they are probably going to stick around and play the game for much longer. So they have different offers for them. For the users who just play, never pay, then they try and monetize them with ads. And for users who are only making purchases of very high value but not very frequently, they are the users that they know are not going to be the whales, but they are the users who are paying a lot of amount. So maybe they'll be interested in more offers. If you can, think of your users in different segments. And from medical terminology to rainy season, no. So what I mean is, monetization is important, but what's more important and what many developers do not emphasize so much is the timing. When the user is out of energy, show the user an offer that, hey, if you buy this pizza, you can get 50% off, and you can also get a smoothie along with it. Purchases, you'll have the shop or the cart where the user can go and tap and make purchases. Most of the games do not really get very high purchases from that because the users do not want to make an effort of tapping on it, going through your different options and then making a purchase. It's just too much work. If they are willing to spend money, make it easy for them. So Playdots, another example of very simple game, and they're doing it very differently now, is when the user starts, they have a starter pack. When the user is out of move, they show an offer that, hey, if you buy these moves, you can get more value. They can also go to the store and pick more options. And when they are out of lives, they can get that by inviting friends or making that purchase. So just clear that level. And making it easy for the user to make that purchase helps tremendously with the monetization. So if you can do one thing to improve your conversion, this is it. So, yeah. To summarize, if you want to optimize your mobile games business, keep in mind 3 things. Make sure that when the users start playing the game, front load anything which is fun in the first few sessions. If you can get the users to come back very often in the first few days, chances are that you are going to be able to retain them better. The second thing is, understand and acknowledge that even though your game is fun, every user who plays the game is looking at it from a different point of view. So if you can segment the users and create different offers or different opportunities for monetization, do that. And the third thing is timing. It's not only important to create offers or add more engaging features, make it easy for the user to make these purchases. And if you can do that well, you have a successful business. But hey, we are indies. If we could do that very well, then maybe we would be Supercell or King or any of that. right? Not to say that it's not important, but what I want to also focus on is, given all the constraints that small developers have, which is lack of resources, lack of funding, lack of time, lack of inclination, what are some of the things that developers can do more practically, and what are some of the things that Google Play is doing to support indie developers? So, unlike my friend who is just here, I'll not say use publishers or not use publishers. I'll just talk about if you are an indie game developer, whether you are publishing on your own or whether you are working with the publishers, completely your prerogative. But from our side, we think indie developers are very important for the ecosystem. So they may not account for the highest number of installs, they may not account for the highest revenues, but they definitely account for the best content that we have on Google Play. More indie developers and more indie games have gotten editor's choice on Google Play than any other category. Anyone heard of editor's choice on Google Play? Yeah, quite a few. So think of editor's choice as a gold medal in an Olympic. So if your game is an editor's choice game, it's going to be one of the very few games from that country. It may not be out there in terms of the highest number of installs or highest revenue, but it is a badge of honor. What else? A lot of these top grossing games, they look at indie developers for inspiration. Many of them, they adopt mechanics. Many of them, they look at new and upcoming indie game developers to either collaborate or understand what they are doing and how they are going about game design. Because they have a huge scale. These big developers, they cannot always take the risk. But as a small developer, you have the ability to create something innovative, do something different. So we have a lot of tools. So on Play, if you go to the developer console, it has evolved quite a bit. So we had just 2 tools in 2012, and in 2015 we have a lot of tools that developers can use to optimize the game, to do a lot of different things. We're not trying to test too many things. Make sure that when you run an experiment, give it sufficient time to run. And at the same time, do not try and do too many things. If you are not sure about an icon, or if in the company or in your team you have disagreement that, hey, I think this icon is better or that icon is better, just go out and test it. So what is it that we are doing for indie developers? How many of you have seen Indie Corner on Google Play? No. Oh, one person. Okay. So Indie Corner is a dedicated space on Google Play where we showcase new games from indie developers. I'll talk more about the program. So yeah, so there are 3 stages, right? So when you are starting to develop a game, your game is launched, and then when it becomes more popular, and then some games, they end up becoming the gems, right? Or as we call them, masterpieces. When you have a new game, you can actually get your game considered for Indie Corner. So if you are a developer, you don't know anyone, you are too shy to speak with someone from Google or too shy to speak with someone who is a publisher, no need to speak. Just submit your game, right? Develop a game, which is what you do best. So this is the highlights collection on Google Play. If you go to Google Play, you can actually check that. And we feature new indie games very regularly here. And we want to help you, because we know that indie developers are the ones who create the best content, most innovative content, and some of these indie developers become some of the best developers on any platform. Okay, specifically about Southeast Asia. We thought that we have a lot of developers in Southeast Asia who are doing good stuff and we want to support them. But at the same time, it's not easy for me or for anyone from the Play team to work very regularly with small developers. So what we thought was, let's run a small program where we identify some of the good game developers, small developers that currently we are not working with, and see what we can do to support them. So we organized workshops last year in Hanoi, in Bangkok, in Singapore. We invited about 90 developers to these workshops. We met with every single one of those developers. And we identified about 28 developers or 28 games that we wanted to support for the program. We started in June. And by November, we were able to get 24 developers globally featured and featured on Indie Corner through this program. We could not get 4 of them featured. Any guesses why? Any guess? Okay, it's simple. They could not release a game. So like a typical perfectionist developer, they had a game which we thought was very good, but they were always trying to, no, it doesn't look very good, let me add something else, let me change this animal. So we could not get 4 of those games featured because they were never released. But every single one was featured. In fact, 3 of them were editor's choice. So we got one game from Pakistan, which is the first editor's choice game from Pakistan. From Singapore, we got the first editor's choice game, which is Dark Dot. I don't know if you have played it. If you haven't, play it. Yeah, nice. And Cute Munchies, which is by Niji Games, a small 3-person studio from Indonesia. So great games, but at the same time, a lot of these developers, they benefit a lot because of this program to learn from the workshops that we had and through the constant interaction. So that was last year. We have the second phase of program coming up very soon. So if you want to take pictures, sorry, it looks ugly. We are still trying to work on the website and we'll have the official announcement shortly. But because I thought I'm here, I should talk about this program. And then right now we have a form which is active. So if you are a game developer, go to the link, submit your game. We'll have these workshops in the week of March 20th in Ho Chi Minh City, in Bangkok and Singapore. And we'll have the many experts from Google Play, including the head of team that actually reviews the game and approves the games for feature. So if you can attend any of these workshops, if you cannot, still fill up the form and let us know more about what games you have. Sure, very simple process, make a great game. And that means actually have a game which is ready for us to support. So if you are an award winner or if you feel that you have an amazing game and you are planning to launch it, make sure that you actually do launch it. So put timelines, make sure that the game is something that we can work with, because with editorial team, a lot of people, they actually play the game, they test it and make sure that it's feature worthy before it is featured. Submit your game. We invite the selected developers to these workshops. We are planning to have more than 100 developers at every single workshop. So if you apply, the chances are very good that you are going to get in. And then once you are selected, then we give you feedback on the game, to how to improve the game. We also very regularly work with you on improving these metrics and supporting you in any way. So yeah, participate now, make great games, be prepared and be indie. Thank you.